everybody. Good morning. Jean Truelove Quilts for you here. I am relaxing today. We've had a busy weekend, as you know, and Maxwell and Ian and I just wanted to thank you all for all of your lovely comments about our dear Maxwell. If you're new here, our son, one of the last videos I put up, made us very proud of going on a stage in front of quite a lot of people and sharing some things. So I just wanted to thank you for all of those lovely comments. And as I was saying, it was very moving, fairly stressful for me, and I've just taken a few days to recover. Maxwell's fine. Somebody said he's like Ian. He is very much, and somebody else said perhaps the interaction with the camera and me filming Maxwell, who's autistic, helped him to get up before a crowd of 750 people and speak eloquently and from his heart. It was beautiful. So thank you so very, very much. I'm just sitting here. I had grabbed my this quilt, sitting here in our family room here in our home, where we usually hang out, and the television's right over here. I had grabbed a quilt that I had made. I'll take some pictures of it. I have shown you people before, years ago. Made with my mother's, who's died, all of her handkerchiefs, quite a few of her handkerchiefs, some of her favorite handkerchiefs that I had found after my mom died. In her jackets, I had taken her clothes, in her trouser pockets, in her coat pockets, neatly folded, beautiful handkerchiefs. Some of them from the 40s, the 50s. I remember my mom carrying these handkerchiefs. So what I had done is, along with some other newer ones, I had the idea just to, on a piece of muslin, backing the handkerchiefs, if you're curious how I made them, on a piece of muslin, I sort of stabilized them, and then I just sewed them, the squares, onto the background fabric, which is like a sort of a sparkly fabric. And again, I'll take some pictures. And then I was really quite industrious. I did a stenciled heart on each of them, which I did with my pounce pad, and then I free motion quilted a heart. And then the backing of this quilt is just delightful. I had gotten that, years. I mean, this is about my mom's, my mom passed away in 2005, and it was shortly thereafter that I had gathered up her hankies and to make a quilt. So I have since washed this, but for many years I hadn't washed it, and I could still smell my mom's perfume on her handkerchiefs. It was just lovely. It was delightful. So I'm wrapped up in my mom's hug right now. But I wanted to just share that with you. Sharing is caring. But I also wanted to talk to you about the Carpenter star quilt that I'm making. Speaking of my Carpenter star, I'll get to it one of these days. But it was very interesting that I had gotten an email from John Murray, you know who you are, with a photograph of his Carpenter star quilt that he followed along. It was so very nice of him to send, and I will be putting a picture up of this. It says, "Hi Jean, I wanted to email you with a picture of my Carpenter star quilt. I really got confused easily, so I made a template for the quilt. It is really helpful when sewing the blocks together. You can just check off each block as you go. Thank you for all you do. I've learned so much from you. Thanks, John." And then he sent me a picture of which I will download to you, a PDF of the actual Carpenter star. It's sort of in a two-color, say, just a background and one color, as it were. Very, very simple to make, actually. Only half square triangles, as you know. But it's very interesting. This is just the two-color, which I was having a hard time with. So John's Carpenter star, he made scrappy, but the illustration he showed was two-color. So I'm going to share John's Carpenter star with you. It's so very pretty. Thank you so very much, John. I'm sure my viewers will appreciate your beautiful quilt. So here's John's quilt. also, one of the last videos I put up is if you ever have any questions. I was going to do a Q&A, but I'm just going to address it now because I fairly quickly after that video I did get a question, and this is from Robin. You know who you are. It's a fairly long, lengthy email. I'll just pick out some of the things. Hello, Jean. Thank you for your videos. I do have a couple of questions. When it comes to sewing machines, what size of the needles used? What do they mean? The higher the number, the thicker the fabric? Or how would I use a certain type of foot? Now, as far as the feet go, Robin, don't ask me. Because you know that I sew primarily with my Juki sewing machine, and I use one foot. Well, no, I use 2 feet. I use my free motion quilting foot, and I use my 1/4 inch foot. And that's about it. Now, I do know that in garment sewing, or if you have a computerized machine, there's all sorts of feet that you would use. And obviously, if you're doing buttonholes, you would need a buttonhole foot, but that is according to your own sewing machine. So I'm not very helpful because I don't use a tremendous amount of feet. I never have in quilting. As you know, I use mostly white thread and the same foot. And I just go, and then with free motion quilting. So I'm very, very, very basic. I do have machines that have 20 feet, and I'm like, what? And then you can buy accessories with 30 different feet. And I never could figure it out. They're all like pristine and brand new in my box. I use my free motion quilting foot, and I use my 1/4 inch foot. For quilting, that is. So I really can't help you there. But I did look up a size guide. This is from Pinterest. I'm going to put a picture up. It didn't print out the whole entire thing. But this is a size guide for the types of needles. Very, very good question. And I think this is fascinating, the American size and the European size. And I never did know that. For most quilting, I think most quilters would agree that you either use a 1280 or a 1490. Now the 12 and the 14 are the American sizes, and I didn't know that the 80 and the 90 are the European sizes. But this guide, which I'll put up, fascinating, it tells you the fabric weight and the fabric types. So for which I use mostly, a 1490 is a medium weight fabric, which would be 100% cotton. So that would be quilting cotton, cottons, velvet, fine corduroy, linen, muslin, jersey, tricot, knits, light wool, sweatshirt, knit, fleece. Now, the 16100 is for heavyweight, which is denim, corduroy, canvas, duck, or suiting. And then 18 and 110, that goes up, like heavy upholstery fabric, faux fur. And the very tiny ones, very fine lace, chiffon, organza, voile. Obviously, the smaller the needle, the finer it is. But then again, as it says here, your 1490 for jersey, tricot, knits. There are all sorts of different fabrics with all sorts of different needles with ball points or with micro tips or made just for jerseys. But for the most part, so they don't split the fibers, as it were. They would pierce the fibers or split them as opposed to piercing the fibers. But for the most part, if you're asking about quilting, it would either be a 1280 or a 1490, which is what I use most of the time. Thank you. That was a very good question. Now, the next one is, she just learned, Robin, you just learned what the width of the fabric is. That's interesting. Been purchased for sewing are charm and mini charm packs, which I think is awesome. I've always said that. Start your quilting journey by sewing some squares together. Charm packs are 5-inch or 6-inch sometimes. Mini charms are like 2.5-inch squares of fabric, and they come from the manufacturer. Awesome. Sew them together. Practice your 1/4 inch seam. Practice nesting your seams together. Make a little doll quilt. Make a little baby quilt with just sewing your squares together. Excellent way to begin. But Robin didn't realize that she went through so much fabric because I was told I was cutting it wrong. Again, is there some sort of fabric cutting math? You're asking me? You're asking Jean Truelove about quilting math? You asked the wrong person. Of course there is. Of course. I use math in quilting. I always say, you know, like, oh, I'm an idiot, I don't know math. Of course I do, because quilting is so much math. But the actual following of patterns, when I see a pattern and it has all of these cut, you know, cut this and cut that and cut that and cut that and cut that. Oh, that's what freaks me out. But obviously quilting has to do with math. But as what I've made my quilts, I break it down to, I'm not absolutely precise in some of maybe the art quilts I make. For your quilting math, you can go somewhere else, Robin. But I can answer this. I still don't know what the bias is. I've been told that's the stretchy part of the fabric. Yes, that's right. So if your fabric is the width of your fabric, this is the width of your fabric, and you have a length. If you take these two corners here, I can't do it because this is paper, but if you stretch it, the bias is across here, this way. That would be the bias of your fabric, which would stretch. So if you're cutting fabric, you don't necessarily want to be cutting it on the bias as opposed to the width or the length of the grain, because it is going to be stretching all out of your place. So if you're cutting on the bias, which you shouldn't really, you should be cutting your width of the fabric, which means your grain is much straighter than the stretchy part. Just take any piece of fabric. Just take a fat quarter, Robin, and pull it from corner to diagonally. You'll see how that stretches. You don't want to be cutting there. That's all. That's what that means, the bias. Now, again, this is sort of, I'm apologizing here because you're saying, all I get is you'll figure it out. Well, Robin, I have more rotary cutters than I think all the quilters in my area have together, because I was told this one's better than that one and that one is better on the hands. Oh, but this smaller blade is better for these type of quilts. Ugh. I'm so tired of being told I am doing things wrong, but not shown the right way. All I get is you'll figure it out. Well, Robin, I'm not being facetious here, but you will have to figure it out. And the reason I say that is the original sort of rotary cutter. I don't have one here. That's upstairs. But it's a, you know what it is. It's a long one with a blade, different sizes, 60, 45, and a little very small one that you flick open and you cut along like that. There are ergonomic rotary cutters, perhaps with a handle. And then there's a rotary cutter I know my friend Jen learned on her rotary cutter, which is absolutely, you hold it like this. And I have one of them, and I could not get used to it at all. I had to figure it out, and I couldn't do it. So that really, I would think, and I'm not trying to blow you off here, Robin, but I do think it's a personal decision of what you are comfortable using. I am absolutely comfortable using either Fiskars or Olfa, or there's other brands of the round top, the sort of the handle rotary cutters. That's what I'm used to using. But as I said, my friend Jen has a hard time with that. She uses the ergonomic ones that don't, quote, hurt her hand as much in that position. So it is really a matter of preference. So don't listen to anybody else. You go get a scrap piece of fabric or an old sheet or something and start practicing, if you do have quite a few, of what you need. Now, having said that, if you have a small, if you're cutting a curve, say, a smaller rotary cutter blade would do the trick, as opposed to a larger, chunkier one, because they come in that size, and then little ones, as you know. That's what you probably have. So again, not trying to fob you off on this question, but it is a personal decision of what you are the most comfortable with. And don't listen to anybody else. Don't listen to like, oh, I got this one. Well, if you want to invest your money, that's all very well and good, but you may not want to do that. So I'm almost 54 years old. In the last 30 years, I've worked in manufacturing. I can operate a train, a forklift, a lift, a boom, pulleys, air handlers, but I can't figure this sewing thing out. That's interesting. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out, Robin. I'm sure you will. Thank you for all you do. I enjoy watching your videos. So it's not that hard. This is not rocket science. If you can figure out how to train someone on a forklift, you can use a sewing machine. And again, good for you. Buy your charm squares, sew them together, practice your 1/4 inch, practice your nesting your seams, and start making a placemat. That's what I always say. Or start making a coaster. Start small. Don't get discouraged with a huge, great, big, complicated pattern. Start sewing your squares together and make something. And follow other quilting tutorials. There's so much wealth of information out there. And I'm sure you'll enjoy your quilting journey. Because as you said, Robin, you're going to be retiring in a couple of years. The basic stage is over. I just want to have fun. You will have fun. Just relax, enjoy the process. Perfection is overrated. Don't worry about being perfect. None of us are. Nor are to be made with love. And you know, it's an expensive hobby. I always say that. So do the best. You're good. Look for fabrics on sale. I don't play into all of the different gadgets and gizmos. As you know, if you've been following me, there's a certain few tools I like that I use. Very basic, really. And I have created some fairly complicated quilts on using very basic tools. Good pair of scissors, snips, a rotary cutter, mat, a few rulers that I have. So don't be swayed into buying everything. And again, the feet is a different thing. If you have certain projects that need different feet on your sewing machine, by all means, look up in your manual, see what you want to be sewing, and then go from there. So anyway, I'm just going to take some pictures of my mom's. I know you've seen it before, but my dear mom, she died when she was 82 of Parkinson's disease. And I was with her the last 3 days. She was in hospice. And even though I had all of the children living at home, I was with her in hospice. And actually, my dear mom, I was in bed with her for the last 72 hours, and she died in my arms, my dear mom. And actually, before that, when I was 17 years old, my father actually died in my arms. He had a heart attack. So, oh my goodness, yeah, not very nice. But I'm always reminded of my mom whenever I pick up her quilt and I cuddle in it. So anyway, folks, I'll take some pictures of this. This is lovely. If you have your aunties or grandmothers or your mom's hankies, oh, it makes a lovely quilt. It really does. And it just brings back some lovely memories for me. So anyway, that's today. I'm just going to relax. I'm sitting here. I'm like so tired. Anyway, I hope you're all having a lovely day, folks. And excuse my appearance, I look a mess. Anyway, thank you for your love and your concern and your pride in our dear Maxwell. He did such a lovely job. All right, thank you so very much. Any more questions, folks? I may or may not answer them. All right, we'll see you later. Have a good one. Love from the Trueloves. Bye-bye.